Washington Times front page for Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The Federal Reserve has raised interest rates another quarter point, an inflation-fighting hike that was scaled back as it grapples with sudden turmoil in the banking industry. Dave Boyer reports the increase from 4.75% to 5% has brought interest rates to their highest levels since 2007. It's the ninth such hike in the past 12 months. The Fed made the move despite concerns it could worsen the banking upheaval after the collapses of two major banks and the rescue of a third in the past 2 weeks. The central bank warned that the banking distress is likely to result in tighter credit conditions and weigh on economic activity, hiring, and inflation. Moderna is raising the price of its COVID-19 vaccine because it faces increased complexity and risk as the pandemic stabilizes. Tom Howe reports CEO Stefan Bancel told the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee that Operation Warp Speed let Moderna develop a vaccine faster in 2020 than it would have been able to on its own. But he rejected accusations of greed, saying its messenger RNA platform was developed through years of private investment and faces a daunting task once the government stops buying millions of doses. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned that if the United States-led coalition supporting Ukraine falters, it will open a Pandora's box in which China and other countries think they can attack smaller states. Guy Taylor reports Blinken began 2 days of Capitol Hill appearances amid signs that the strong bipartisan support for Ukraine is softening as its war against Russia enters its second year. Blinken told a Senate Appropriations Committee that China is watching the staying power of the international coalition behind Ukraine very carefully. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. A seemingly inoffensive bipartisan group created to help states sort their voter rolls has lost the involvement of a half dozen Republican-led states. Stephen Dinan reports Ohio and Iowa withdrew from the Electronic Registration Information Center last week, and Florida, West Virginia, and Missouri did so earlier this month. Alabama canceled its membership in January, and Louisiana withdrew last year. The center is the latest victim of the rift over how the U.S. conducts its elections, with competing views over what's more important. Democrats generally argue that the paramount goal is to have as many people as possible voting, while Republicans say it's most important to ensure votes aren't cast fraudulently. The Biden administration is hailing proposed rules aimed at protecting the religious liberty of clients of faith-based charities, but critics say the changes would remove protections for religious charities that receive federal funds. Mark Kellner reports the Department of Health and Human Services announced the proposed changes. Under the proposals, religious charity clients must be given written notice of non-discrimination policies, including a right to refuse to attend or participate in a religious practice as part of a charity's services. HHS says the proposals carry forward a 2021 executive order signed by President Biden and remedy problems caused by a 2020 Trump administration rule. And finally, research published this week in Nature Human Behavior found that the publication's endorsement of President Biden in 2020 cost the journal credibility among Trump supporters. Stephen Dinan reports a Stanford University professor who conducted the research showed 2,000 people a summary of Nature's October 2020 endorsement of Biden. He also provided a placebo message to the other 2,000 in his survey group. He found no increase in support for Biden, but found Trump supporters in the group were significantly less likely than the placebo group to want to see Nature's work on coronavirus variants and other developments. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. And a quick programming note, the front page will be off on Friday, March 24th, and return on Monday, March 27th. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.